So are you telling me
Get
that
a seat to
with
education.
all the black wealth that exists here in Atlanta, with all the black millionaires that live here in Atlanta, why in the world do 92% of APS students are illiterate? Make it make sense. And we have Democratic mayors, we have Democratic city council members, we have Democratic commissioners, and for whatever reason, 92% of the kids here cannot read. That statistic did not exist in Nevada. So again, I don't know if it was the fact that I got lucky. I can't say that, oh my God, it's the teachers that suck out here. I would never demean our educators here in Atlanta. But what we can acknowledge is the numbers, sir. And so while you want to call me not smart, please tell me what your side has done to fix the illiteracy rate that we see in our black children. Absolutely nothing. But to go back to the, oh, I don't know why she smirk, why she neck rolls, while she talks over people. It's okay for you guys to get on here and call me an Uncle Tom, to call me not smart, to call me dumb, to say I haven't done my research, to say I haven't lived a life like you. But then if I smirk, if I laugh, oh my God, what is this person talking about? Now all of a sudden you're offended. I think that's very interesting. Next, to say that I'm a crab in a barrel and I'm pulling people down. Actually, how could I be pulling people down if I was in the bottom of the barrel with the rest of you crabs and I decided to crawl out? And now here I am calling out the discrepancies that I've seen in the Democratic Party and asking you, why is the hood still the hood? The hood was the hood when you were a child. The hood is still the hood now that I have a child. That's 3 generations in which the Democrats have done nothing to help you. So it sounds more like you're the crab at the bottom of the barrel trying to keep everybody down there. And I'm the crab that crawled out and I'm saying, hey, let's get back to the beach.
Yo, bro. So that was one of the questions that I remember, and I've worked in APS, so I seen what she's talking about in real time.
Yo, hold on, but bro, why we don't have no black people with the black power and all that
No,
shit
no,
when
no, 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 no. We can't support this.
yo,
What?
oh hell
So,
no.
bro, I've I, I've worked in APS, and everything she said is true. I remember, and I shared the story with you before, bro, how a girl who was graduating came up to me a few weeks before her graduation from high school and told me she could not read and was scared to death because she's like, why did they push me through and I can't even read like that?
That's crazy, bro.
Straight up. And I remember having a conversation some years ago, and this was when Keisha Lance Bottoms was running for mayor. And I was saying, like, yo, because she ended up going into a runoff, and her challenger was a white businesswoman from like the Buckhead area. So if you're not familiar with Atlanta, you got the city of Atlanta, and then in the northern part of the city, you have a neighborhood referred to as Buckhead, and that's where you have a lot of concentrated wealth is in Buckhead. And not too long ago, like 2 years ago or so, they actually tried to separate themselves from the city, and it didn't go through. It didn't pass, but they voted on it. So there's a slight disconnect because a lot of the resources that Atlanta gets, they get from the Buckhead neighborhood because that's where you have a concentration of your wealth. But anyway,
Ooh,
I
that would have
remember
been
having
rough
this
for Atlanta,
conversation.
boy.
You said what?
That would have been rough for Atlanta if they'd have lost Buckhead.
Oh, it would have been extremely rough, which is why a lot of politicians make sure they appease their residents in Buckhead. So when things are getting out of control, when they're having these shootouts and motherfuckers robbing these gated communities, oh, they make sure they clean that shit up very, very fast. Very, very fast. But this particular conversation, I was asking this person, what she thought about the upcoming election with Keisha Lance Bottom with the runoff. And she's like, oh, I hope she gets it. So I said, I hope she gets it too. I said, but let's look at the history of Atlanta, right? We've had, and this is me being a transplant. I'm not even a native Atlantan. This is a transplant, but I've been here long enough to go through a few cycles of mayors and learn the history, where I understand the history of Atlanta. And you have had, up until this point, one, two, three, four, five, six. I think we're on about either six or seven black mayors. The first being Mayor Jackson. Six black mayors, or seven black mayors at this point. And within that period of time, what that woman talked about has continued. These families have not been empowered through this black leadership that we've had, which have been black Democrats. The neighborhoods have not got better. They've been, first off, demolished because a lot of your black people were living in these projects that they demolished all throughout the city. And then they just gave them vouchers and spread them all across the metro area. But then on top of that, now you got gentrification, and they're being pushed out of these areas and moving to areas where historically they were not allowed to be in. But those are the areas that be pushed. They're pushing. They're getting pushed out to now. So it's like you had all this black leadership, right? It make you feel good. I know I hear a lot of people. They come to Atlanta. Oh my God, black everything. I walk into the airport. Everybody's black. I go everywhere. It's black. And coming from New York, that was my initial impression too. But then you start peeling the layers, and you're like, I mean,
You start
has it
feeling
really
like
been beneficial for the native people of Atlanta?
you start feeling like Dion at Jackson State.
Oh man, but yo, so I totally understand what she's saying and the frustration because that's the way I felt. And working in the school system, you get to know families on an intimate level. And I was able to interact with these families and see that this had been the cycle for generations. So it's not like just one generation, it's generations. Three, four generations. And I know people will look at, oh, Atlanta, oh, it's the Mecca. And there are some black people that are doing fine out here. Some native born. What I see is a lot of non-native born black people doing good out here. But it's like we gotta escape the identity politics and really start to pull back the layers, like I said, and really look at what's going on. And it's not always beneficial to us.